Something very interesting happened over this past week, something that I did not expect to happen. So Donald Trump negotiated, or his administration rather, negotiated directly with the Houthis in a way that seems to be very detrimental to Israel. The US negotiated a ceasefire with the Houthis. According to the Houthi interpretation of this deal, it means that hostilities will cease between the Houthis and all US shipping and all US military targets, and in exchange, Trump basically gave the Houthis assurances that if they attack Israel, they will not be retaliated against by the US. But you can see the Israeli media articles are not happy about this. He ditched Israel. Trump ditched Israel. Honestly, I think this is going to be indicative because apparently there is a big deal coming up between the US and Saudi Arabia. And I think that Trump is planning to shift US Middle Eastern strategy to be way more Saudi Arabia than Israel focused. So next week, according to some sources, Trump may recognize a Palestinian state based on the Abraham Accords in the coming week when I believe he or his envoy visits. Israeli media is very, very worried about this. Now, I don't think this is going to happen in the first place, for one. I think the visit to Saudi Arabia is more going to be to do with the US aligning itself way more closely with the Saudis than with Israel. And that would explain why they don't really care about including Israel in a ceasefire with the Houthis. If they did recognize a Palestinian state based in the Abraham Accords, like that would be unexpected for Trump, but the Abraham Accords fucking suck, man. The Abraham Accords are like, Israel gets to annex half the West Bank. A Palestinian state established under Donald Trump would not be a good idea. And it's already a bad idea to begin with in the state of things right now. So it's like generic, sort of very contradictory, very weird, very nonsensical stuff. Trump's foreign policy, honestly, I think it kind of seems to be like really grossly self-interested, which might actually be a good thing, at least in the terms of the Middle East, because Saudi Arabia is a power in its own right. Israel isn't. So the US moving closer to Saudi Arabia is putting itself into a situation where it has way more to gain. The Saudis obviously actually control oil. You know, they're actually important in the global economy. Israel isn't important at all. It doesn't fucking matter aside from being used as a testing ground for weaponry on civilians. So the Saudis are able to exert a ton of pressure on the US that Israel never could. And they might use that pressure to try and push for some sort of pressure from the US on Israel. And I think Trump at least understands the position that the Saudis are in. He's always been very, favorable towards Saudi Arabia. So I think if the Saudis butter him up enough, they might come out of this event in Saudi Arabia with him just suddenly switching course regarding Israel and like demanding an end to the war at least. And in the long run, this could bode very badly for Israel. Though, I mean, I'm not holding my breath, Overall, it's just very weird that he's acting in this way. It makes no fucking sense. And I think he's a bit of a wild card. You can't really predict what he's doing lately. There's not really any rhyme or reason to it, even by Trump logic. It feels like he does not have the staunch ideological commitment to Israel that basically everyone aside from him has. He's willing to make compromises that hurt Israel, provided that he thinks they don't hurt the USA directly, like he did with the Houthi ceasefire. So it will be interesting to see what happens in the Saudi summit. He could just be a dumbass. He could just be a moron. He could also just be controlled by Vladimir Putin. There's many options, but keep your eyes on this Saudi summit because it could be a huge fucking deal geopolitically. This could move a ton of regional power from Israel to Saudi Arabia, which is bad because the Saudis are terrible, but at the same time, the Saudis, terrible as they are, would at least demand breadcrumbs for Palestinians, which is more than what they were before. How do the Saudis benefit from the Houthi deal? Well, the Saudis aren't presently in conflict with the Houthis. Not really that much, at least. I think they don't really care about them that much anymore. I think they've kind of accepted defeat largely.